Good morning, folks. We're delighted this morning to hear the news that over this weekend gone by, these bollards, which were placed on the 5 foot way, have been removed and to open it up. Now, it's been a matter of contention for a few months because a lot of people have seen it as an extension of the land grab by Port of Cork, who installed the bollards to extend the level of property ownership which they claim. But of course, ownership of property has no impact whatever on the existence of a public right of way, which has been there for over 200 years. I'm here with a couple of lads from Save Cove's right of way who've been observing this. So I'm going to talk to Diarmuid Cahill. Diarmuid, you've been following that issue on the 5 foot way for a while. What's the background to this?
This started in 2016 when the port wanted to close off the quay, as they said at the time, for safety reasons and for 20 minutes and all of this. Subsequently, all this turned out to be rubbish. We're here with a visible presence since 2018 because the port refused to deal with the issue of the 5 foot way. People have been walking on this right away for nearly over 200 years. I'm going there for 70 years myself, and I know from the petitions we've had signed, which range between 6,000 and 7,000 at the moment, that there's there's a huge amount of people around my age have been walking there this long, some since they've been in a pram with their mother.
You meet people here every morning. We're here every morning when the liners come in particular, just to ensure that Deepwater Quay is kept open. But they seem to want to have extended this now onto 5 foot way for some reason. But you do see a lot of senior citizens, and I mean, it's a beautiful walk and an amenity for the people of Cobh and outside Cobh as well.
Yeah, about 2 months ago, somebody put 2 bollards by the first railway bridge on the 5 foot way. I approached the council about it, Councillor Rasmussen. He said he didn't know anything about it. He came back to me a while after that and said the Port of Cork put him there. It wasn't the council put him there, without any consultation with the council or anybody else.
Surely there was a planning application before they'd erect a bollard like that?
No, there was no planning application or anything like that. He came back to me after a few days and he said, no, the port are claiming that they own this part of the 5 foot way. I asked him would he look into he said he would, but he seems to have a problem finding the maps and the documentation relating to this. I myself have investigated it, and in less than 24 hours I was able to gather all the information that was needed.
Yeah.
And it's quite obvious the port do not own that.
Well,
or never have owned it.
Do you know, Diarmuid, it's been said many times in relation to the Deepwater Quay here, which of course extends down onto the 5 foot way, that ownership isn't even the issue here, because a right of way is a right of way, and like public have access to this, irrespective of who owns it.
Well, the Port of Cork are claiming they own it, but the Port of Cork are a public company, so there might be custodians of it, but they certainly don't own it. It's public property if they're a public company. So that extends to the whole length of the quay and the whole length of the 5 foot way.
Yeah.
So nobody actually owns it.
Yeah.
The public have a right to walk there and always had a right to walk there and will always have a right to walk there. The actions of the port are just the usual ones of any multinational. They try to intimidate people through legal proceedings. They try to bully people with extra security people standing in your face, and then of course to top it all off they have their own employees abusing people.
Yes.
Elderly people.
Yeah.
Referring to them as retards and other words I don't want to mention at the moment.
Just on those points, yeah, we want to be decent. This is a public video. You see that, Tony, you have a sign here on this issue of bullying. I mean, a lot of people have been bullied over the last 4 years using this walkway, and without sense nor meaning to it, there's no excuse for that bullying. But the public should be well aware that this isn't, as you said, they've admitted it's not safety anymore anyway. It's not a small issue that we can keep using this walkway indefinitely, because there's definite moves being made by the Port of Cork, and the erection of those barriers is part of it. And the main move they've done is maybe 3 years ago, they initiated a legal action in the courts looking for an order. And if I could just direct the camera here, the documents submitted to the courts by Port of Cork Company ask for a declaration that there is no public right-of-way in existence over Deepwater Quay in Cobh. They're asking the court to proclaim that there's no right-of-way. Now, why on earth would they do that? Except that they have other plans for Deepwater Quay, and obviously now as well for 5 Foot Way. And perhaps this is where the much talked about second cruise terminal is actually on 5 Foot Way, because if they can control that and seal it off with barriers, then, you know, if we accept it, if that's lost to the public, then it's lost permanent and won't be retrieved. So it's very important that people should stand up. Let me just refer to my notes. There are some very important legal points here, and you mentioned Councillor Rasmussen, and not just him actually. There are 6 local councillors, none of whom have addressed or stood up to protect these public amenities, either here or elsewhere. We'll talk to Tony in a moment on that. But the legal situation is that under the Planning and Development Acts, the County Council are mandated to list and map all the public rights of way in their administrative area. That's a duty, a legal obligation they have, which the council have failed on. And none of the council members, of course, have taken up that. Some other interesting pieces here is, under the Roads Act 1993, it shall be a function, and I'm quoting, it shall be a function of a local authority to protect the right of the public to use public rights of way in its administrative area. So it's a function of the local authority to protect the public's access to this quay. Further, in the same act, it says, in section 73, subsection 10, I quote, "A person who obstructs, impedes, or otherwise interferes with a public right of way, or who destroys or damages a public right of way, save as provided for in law, shall be guilty of an offence." So whoever put up those bollards, which thankfully now people have removed, whoever put up those bollards, whether they owned the property or not, they obstructed a right of way. The bollards were too close together. They even contravened the regulations put down by the Irish Wheelchair Association for people with disabilities and so on. So given that an offence has been committed, what's the remedy? And the same act says, "A person guilty of an offence under any provision of this act shall be liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding £1,000, that's over €1,200, at the discretion of the court, and to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months, or to both a fine and imprisonment." That's the legal position regarding what's taking place here. Now, Diarmuid, were you going to add to that?
Yeah, when I spoke about the walk a while ago about the bollards, I did approach Councillor Rasmussen, but I just want to make it clear, he was the one I approached. Everybody in the council is responsible for this.
Of course they are.
He discussed it with him, and this is the information he got back. The way they're dealing with the situation about the 5 Foot Way, and have been for the last few years, has me convinced that this is government policy to do away with rights of way from people.
Yes.
And the reason I come to that conclusion is the councillors are refusing to do anything about it. They're obviously being told, you can't do this.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, it's government policy.
Yeah. So they're not representing the people. I mean, that there are 6 council members up there. I mean, barring from my own time when I was on the council, we did present those maps and everything else and request a meeting support of Cork, none of which were accepted, or none of which were fulfilled. But since then, none of these councillors have shown any interest whatever in this public amenity. They, you know, occasionally they walk up and down, but they've shown no interest whatever to protect it. Now, it's not the first time. All around Cobh, there's a lot of situations where there are public rights of way that are being interfered with. Now, I just want to bring Tony into this. Tony, you were part of a group, myself included, over in Merino Point there, was it 2-3 years ago?
5 years ago.
Where the Port of Cork actually put a steel gate to block the public walkway there.
Well, what happened there was that they put up four. That was the steel gate was the fourth barrier they put up, embedded in overnight in quick drying concrete,
Yeah.
and
What happened to that gate, Tony?
some of the residents said, "Look, it's just there right away," and about a group of individuals from the community got together and removed it.
Very good. I remember that actually, yeah. So that was the solution. There's been no problem up there since then. So hopefully now with these bollards gone from the 5 foot way, that will be an end of it, and maybe it will prompt council to come back in and protect firstly its own property, but more importantly to protect the public interest that exists in that area. Tony, you were involved at the right way at Kinsale long ago, weren't you? So the point there, Tony, is that rights of way and public access is an issue all around Ireland. Like that old head issue, a beautiful walkway being closed off disgracefully by developers. But it's not. It's happening throughout Ireland and in Cobh in Great Island. There are several sites, but we'll be revisiting some of those again later. Diarmuid, yeah.
On the subject of right of way, the county council and the local council have no problem providing a right of way for the buses in the Port of Cork to come through a public car park.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, they registered a specific right of way to suit the buses out in White Point.
Yeah.
They have no problem dealing with those rights of way, but the people's right of way, they don't want to know about it.
Do you think that the council and the members of the local council here are working in consort with Port of Cork, if you like?
That'd be my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Diarmuid. I think they are, because to have ignored such a glaring issue, an issue of such importance to the people, it can only be that they're compromised.
You're the only councillor, when you were on the council, that helped the community with issues like this.
Yeah.
None of the rest of them have any interest in it.
Okay, folks.
Disgusting.
It is disgusting, yeah. We will leave it at that. We're outside the Heritage Centre here. We had that good news brought to us that those bollards have been removed from the 5 foot way. Hopefully that will see an end to it, and good sense shall prevail. And again, let's appeal to the council members. Do your duty. Stand up for the people. Garamagat.